If I'd put any thought into the biomechanics of walking before starting in on this redevelopment program, I might have concluded that most people move forward by engaging the muscles of their upper legs to lift their feet up and then push them down and back against the ground to propel the mass of their body forward.
And inverted,
And I wouldn't have been wrong. That is more or less how most people
essentially
walk.
winding the foot around the rotational
But in the course of
axis like
redeveloping
a
my
torsion
feet,
spring.
I found that I could move forward without lifting my legs at all. Just by rolling my feet
position your
across the
foot,
rotational axes
clench
to
it as
drive my
tightly
hips
as you
forward
can
in alternating
and invert
arcs
it so
around my
that the
body's
sole faces the
midline,
body's
propelling
midline,
my center of mass
essentially
straight ahead
winding the
in a
foot
steady
around the
line.
rotational axis like a torsion spring.
This walk may look a bit strange at first, but it's more efficient than the standard walk and results in less wear and tear on your body. More importantly, practicing it will help you develop your feet fully and over time prevent or correct many problems of the legs and spine that plague people as they age. This video explains the biomechanics of this more efficient way to walk. The next will present a few advanced walking exercises that will help you realign the bones of your feet and get you moving.
I've mentioned that the bones of the foot form a segmented spiral that rotates inward around the foot's long axis, which stretches from the back outside tip of the heel bone to the front inside tip of the big toe. But how does the foot's rotation around the axis translate into walking? During the stance phase of walking, the portion of the gait when the foot is on the ground, a fully developed foot touches down at the body's extended midline. The first point of contact is the curved base of the metatarsal bone on the outer edge of the clenched foot, number 1 here. The outer heel bone at 2A and curled small toe at 2B then engage with the ground simultaneously, and the foot spirals inward across the rotational axis, simultaneously from 2A to 3A around the heel and from 2B to 3B across the transverse arch, transferring the body's weight forward. This motion of the foot as it rolls across the rotational axis during the stance phase, if directed efficiently, propels the opposite hip forward in an arc around the midline, swinging the next foot into position. Once the feet are fully developed and their movement symmetric, the alternating arcing of the hips advances the center of mass in a steady line at a stable speed.
This gait is more efficient than the standard approach because it reduces vertical motion of the knees, smooths the transition between steps, and improves the conversion from the rotation of the hips into forward motion. For the feet to work in this fashion, they must be positioned and placed precisely. This happens during the swing phase of walking, the portion of the gait when your foot is not in contact with the ground.
To position your foot, clench it as tightly as you can and invert it so that the sole faces the body's midline, essentially winding the foot around the rotational axis like a torsion spring.
Then place your foot with the rotational axis directly over the extended midline of the body. Bring the outside edge of the foot into contact and push laterally against the ground, moving from the outer heel to the top of the small toe. Your foot will perform a medial roll, rotating inwardly across the heel and the toes, and the inside tip of the big toe will roll into position directly over the extended midline. Forming and reinforcing this direct connection between the rotational axis of one foot and the rotation of the opposite hip is the objective of this first and most basic of the program's walking exercises, roller coaster. The goal is to have your center of mass coast over the ground using only the roll from foot to foot to minimize movement in all directions but forward. Try to keep everything else still. Focus on keeping your upper body steady with no rotation of the shoulders or swing of the arms. Avoid lifting your legs as much as you can by keeping your knees slightly bent and close together with your center of mass right over your heels. You can incline your torso forward and let gravity pull you ahead while your feet hustle to keep your body upright, or you can shift your weight back a bit and let your rotational axes drive forward motion. Either way, focus on isolating the mechanism between your feet and hips.
Walking is one of the most effective ways to reshape your foot around its rotational axis, and one of the easiest for people to incorporate into their daily lives. The key is to walk with intentionality whenever you walk, to position and place your foot for each step, and to emphasize the roll across the rotational axis. Once your feet are fully developed and you get this gait down, walking starts to feel less like pounding the pavement and more like surfing a series of inward crashing waves that you create with your own feet. Be sure to leave a comment or send a message if you want more detailed information about the program or any of these exercises.